Hello.
So thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining with us here today. We're really looking forward to the presentation today and to seeing many of you again next week when we have the full webinar session on revenue-based models. We've already done 3 Share and Learn webinars. This is the last one engaged panelists on the Workers' Voice. Today is a little different than the full webinar. A number of Job Quality Fellows had asked about a demo for this tool and their approach to addressing financing needs and financial counseling for workers. So we thought it was a great lead-in in advance of Justine talking about their work in the full webinar that's going to happen next week. So this is a demo today about their services and system. And just a reminder that we have the session next week at 12:30 Eastern Time on fee-for-service models or revenue-building models. And we're going to look at other webinar topic ideas and get back to you about the timing of that and the focus of those going forward. So we invited both cohorts of Job Quality Fellows to be on the call today. We have a great group that's already joined on the call rather than just doing the rounds. More people will be adding along the way. Amanda Blondeau, Angelina Drake, Rick Plimpton, Bhairavi Shabdia, Mandy Townsend, Melinda Yasasi, and Justine, who's going to be talking with us today. And we won't interrupt the presentation to announce other people joining, but they will be joining along the way. So the process and timeline for today is I'll toss it in a minute to Justine and her colleague to introduce Neighborhood Trust Financial Partners and each other. And then they will be presenting a slide deck and to show us their system. And then during that period of time, if questions arise, you can send it in on the dialog box and we'll be tracking those. But also we're trying to reserve about the last half hour of today's hour for questions and discussion. So there'll be an opportunity there. So that's the lineup for today. And I think what I'll do is toss it to Justine and ask her to take it away. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you so much. So I'm going to speak briefly about Neighborhood Trust Financial Partners and core model and the journey that we went on to arrive at the workplace and creating a trusted advisor. I'm going to be brief so that I can turn it over to my colleague, Adria Schmidt, our Director of Business Development, who will provide a more deep dive on Trusted Advisor. So briefly about Neighborhood Trust and myself, I've been the CEO of Neighborhood Trust for 17 years now. We grew out of the credit union movement. And today our sole focus are on clients like these on this page, individuals who are working hard, but truly struggling to make ends meet because of wage stagnation, the risk shift from employer to work. Really, what we hear every day from our clients are that they're not only sort of struggling with how to understand their finances, but the very nature of their job and the way in which they interact with how they get paid and their benefits really doesn't make them feel like they're in control of their finances, doesn't give them the opportunity to feel like they can translate that pay into savings and financial health and security. So these are really the people who we're aiming to serve and who, from the quote at the top, you can see end up spending $173 billion on sort of the broad fringe banking market. We always sometimes say we try to solve for this $173 billion problem. And our core model is we deliver trusted expert financial counseling that is focused on workers' short-term financial challenges. We always say we're about trust and action. Our financial counselors are trained to establish trust with our clients, but then guided by behavioral theory to ensure that there are specific tools so that individuals can each build their own financial action plan, and have an ability to immediately take action on that plan. Today, we are scaling nationally. This just gives a little bit of a sense of our national scope. Today, we're going to be talking about Trusted Advisor, our employee benefit, but we also do have with Inclusive that enables us to build capacity for credit unions to deliver financial counseling. And we also are providing consulting services to about 30 different cities this year, and more to come, empowerment services there as well. About 6 years ago, we landed on Trusted Advisor, guided by the realization that individuals had an opportunity to do better with their finances by receiving financial counseling and services. We have a very sick vision about the workplace. So as we always talk about, we believe that employers are an essential part of the solution, and that there's an opportunity to both encourage employers to invest in their workers' financial health, and there's also an opportunity to invest in the workplace systems that are already in place, the human resources and payroll systems and benefits, and affect change so that those tools and systems are automatically helping people convert their wages into financial health. So this is the journey we're on, and I'm now thrilled to introduce my colleague, Adria, who oversees the entire customer to walk through the details of Trusted Advisor.
Thank you, Justine. So again, my name is Adria. I actually started off at Neighborhood Trust about 6 years ago, and worked as a financial counselor for my first few years at Neighborhood Trust. So if any questions do come up later on or throughout the presentation specific to our financial counseling, we are happy to answer those as well. So starting from a very high level, what is Trusted Advisor? So Trusted Advisor is really a value add to human resources as well as a resource to the employees themselves. We provide not only the financial counseling directly to the workers, but we also link those workers to their other employer benefits that are being offered. So one of the things that we do is cultivate a list of all of the other benefits that they have available to them, so that the way they can use those benefits to their maximum ability and help them achieve their long-term financial goals. And it's not just standalone financial counseling. We also are integrating ourselves with curated products, because we really believe that in order to make financial counseling have its most impact, you need to encourage people to take action on their finances. And so often that action is related with the financial products that they have access to, and making sure that they are utilizing financial products that are affordable and the right fit for them. So that's kind of how we combine all of those facets to help support those workers. So from a very high level, I'm going to review all of the different categories that our financial counselors review with workers. And just to start off, everything that I'm going to show you, as well as all of our counselors, are available in both English and Spanish. So all of our financial counseling staff is bilingual, and all of the technology that we've developed can be toggled back and forth between English. So the four main categories that our financial counselors work with employees on is money management and budgeting, credit and debt, so helping them repair their credit, establish credit, or pay back their debt, or manage their debt. Banking, so helping them figure out the right checking and savings accounts, as well as savings, so helping them with their emergency fund, with short-term and long-term savings. Now, there are some areas that, when people think personal finance, some of the employers we work with get it right away, and they say, oh, this is exactly what my staff needs. Some of the employers we work with might think, oh, financial counseling means you're going to help us with our, the workers with their 401k, or you're going to do their taxes for them. So to be very clear, we do not provide any investment advice, and we do not sell anybody anything. So that is one of the biggest value adds that employers have found with our services, is that A lot of times there are financial counselors available to their employees, but it could be through an insurance company or through a bank, and ultimately they are trying to sell their products to their employees. Whereas with us, we never receive any funds or kickbacks from any referrals that we make to products or financial institutions. So what does this look like? We connect with employees one of two ways, and it really depends on how the employer communicates their benefits to the employees already. If an employer has a lot of employees that don't have email addresses, so for example, thinking services, right? If you go to a restaurant, most of the restaurant workers don't have a company email address. So those employers would promote company benefits through posters, flyers, pamphlets in the break room. Whereas other employers might communicate primarily with their employees through an intranet, through email. So what we do is really tailor our marketing materials to be able to meet the employee wherever they're at and use existing communication systems to connect with them. So then the employee, through all of our different promotional materials, receives a link to our onboarding digital tool. I'm going to show you what that looks like. So once they click on that link, they're brought. And so this explains a little bit about Neighborhood Trust, who we are, the fact that we're offering one-on-one financial counseling services. You can see here there are photos of our financial counselors, and as they click on their photos, they will be able to read a biography of each one of them. And so that really helps to establish the trusting relationship early on, so that way they feel like they know about these people before they have their first session. As soon as they click Get Started, they are brought to the scheduling page. And on this scheduling page, all they have to do is click the day and the time that they're available. They can continue to read more about the financial counselors. Their profiles are right there, same as they were on the first page. Our counselors are available Monday through Saturday, as early as 8:30 a.m. Eastern time and as late as midnight Eastern time. So we have a lot of availability, and we are working with companies on the West Coast so that availability can accommodate those workers. After they choose the day and time, it's really easy to sign up. All we need is their first name, last name, cell phone number, email address. They just have to choose if they want to meet with a counselor via phone or Skype and agree to the terms of services. And that's it. They get a confirmation page. They also get a confirmation text message and a confirmation email that tells them everything that's going to happen in their financial counseling session, and also gives them the ability to reschedule their session if they're unable to make it. From there, we've given them a few options. So they can decide to pull their credit report. And we found that a lot of people actually are interested in seeing their credit report, especially if they have a pressing financial issue that has caused them to meet with a financial counselor. They want to see what's going on. So to pull their credit report, we need their date of birth, social security number, and home address. And this is what they're shown. They're shown a very high level profile of their credit and their debt categories. And because of our relationship with TransUnion, the credit pool is a soft pool, so it's not going to hurt their credit score at all. Now, if they decide, I don't really want to pull my credit report right now, I'm too busy, they don't have to, that's completely fine. But if they do pull the credit report, it just means that the financial counselor has additional information before the session, so that way they can dive right into addressing whatever financial concern this person has, instead of having to collect this information in the beginning of the session. After the credit report, we just ask the employees a few questions about their finances and their financial picture. It is all optional. They can drop off at any time. We do find that most people do continue and fill out these questions before their session, which is great. And one thing I wanted to highlight for you all, which we cut it out of these screenshots just to make sure that we could fit everything. But at the bottom of all of these pages where it says save and continue, as well as at the bottom of the scheduler and the initial page, we actually have the capability to co-brand. So this is where on each of those slides, we would have the logo of the company that we're working with. And it says, this service is being provided by Fresh Direct, the service is being provided by Staples, whatever company it is. And that's really important, because what we found, and I'll show you a little bit later in our results page, is that the employees really identify this benefit as being offered by their employer, and it helps them to feel positively about their work and about the relationship that they have with their employer. And I'll show you some stats on that a little bit later. So the session itself, when they have the financial counseling session, again, it's conducted either via phone or Skype. It's about 30 minutes long. And in the session, the financial counselor will get to know the employee and a little bit more about their life demand and finances. They'll identify what they want to work on and what goals they may have. And together they come up with a financial action plan that says, okay, this is what I'm going to do to achieve these goals. These are my next steps. But it doesn't stop there. We are not the kind of organization that says, all right, here's your plan. I'll talk to you in a month. But we've rather, to Justine's point earlier in the presentation, have embedded behavioral science into our financial counseling and have found that if people don't have reminders or nudges along the way, they aren't going to be as successful in achieving their goals. For example, let's say we have an employee who meets with our counselor and says, you know, I really want to start saving for my child's education. I just don't know how I'm going to fit that into my budget. You know, I have no idea where to start. So the counselor will work with the employee on a budget. And maybe in doing so, the employee realizes, oh my gosh, I'm spending $60 a week buying lunch when I'm at work. I didn't realize it was costing me that much money. I would rather take that money and put it towards my child's savings account. So what the counselor can do is set it up that every morning at 7:30, 6 in the morning, the employee receives a text message that says, don't forget to make your lunch at home today and bring it to work so you can meet your savings goals. And it's those kinds of behavioral nudges that really help people stay on track and achieve the goals that they've set out to achieve. And it can be tailored based off of everybody's situation. So we never send out any kind of generic nudges. It's always specific to their particular financial situation, as well as what they are looking to achieve. After the first financial counseling session, everybody has unlimited access to additional financial counseling sessions. So they can continue to communicate with their financial counselor through text messages, through ongoing phone and Skype sessions, through email, as well as through our online platform that we've developed, where employees can log on and see their financial action plan. They can see their budget, they can see their credit report, they can communicate with the financial counselor, and they can really engage with their financial profile and their financial action plan and provide updates as their financial picture changes. So it's a really interactive tool that allows both counselors and employees to interact with each other outside of those sessions. On top of the financial counseling sessions, this is something that we just started offering. It's brand new because of the demand that we've had. We are now offering quarterly webinars where our financial counselors will provide information to all of the employees who decide to attend on a variety of different topics. So we've had webinars on credit and debt, student loans, budgeting, savings, retirement. We are able to work with employers to identify what topics their employees might need the most help with. It could be that an employer says, oh my gosh, my employees are borrowing a lot from their 401k. Is there anything you can do to provide information to them on how that's going to impact them in the long term and what alternatives might be available to them? So then we could pull together a webinar on that content and provide that to those employees. So this is something that a lot of companies have been asking for. We also provide relationship managers to work directly with the companies that we've partnered with. What we found is that a lot of benefits are highly underutilized. And now that we are an employee benefit, if we don't have a very strong relationship with that employer and have an employer who's willing to promote our services, we could fall into that category as well. And we, because we're a mission-driven organization, we really want to work with as many employees as possible. So we provide the employer with marketing materials that are unique to their company. So posters, flyers, pamphlets, videos, webinars, in-person pitches. It really varies. And we work with the human resources department at each of these employers to identify what would be best for us to communicate to their staff. We also provide automatic monthly reports to the employers, and this is something that's really important. So every month, every employer we work with gets this kind of report that says how many people have scheduled appointments, how many have completed their appointments, had follow-up sessions, and the average number of communications per participant. And so this is really important for us to use to stay top of mind with the employers and also show the current utilization rates of the benefit and make sure that we are constantly working alongside the employer to encourage their staff to sign up. This shows a little bit of the difference between Trusted Advisor and other programs or organizations that might have a form of financial literacy or financial counseling. So as you can see, and as we've mentioned before, what really stands us apart from everybody else is the unlimited access to an unbiased financial counselor who can provide trustworthy advice and product recommendations. And that is something that is not in the market currently from any of these other programs that are offering it. So now getting into some of our results. We break these results down to employers and employee impact and employee satisfaction. So from the employer side, 95% of the employers are satisfied with Trusted Advisor, likely to continue offering Trusted Advisor, and likely to recommend Trusted Advisor to another business or organization. So we're really proud of those statistics. And our customer support, or relationship managers that I mentioned, have rated 4.25 out of 5 stars from the employers that we've worked with. But they aren't only satisfied with the service, they also have felt real impact on their business. So 90% of the clients worked with, the employees that we've worked with, has said that by offering this service, they believe their employer cares about their well-being. And that really ties back to the co-branding aspect I mentioned before, where the employees are recognizing that this is a benefit that's being offered to them through their employer, which can help with retention. It can help with recruitment, as you'll see a little bit later. Not only that, but it also helps increase employee productivity. So 75% of the employees we surveyed said that personal finances are less of a distraction at work, and 77% that the financial stress they experience has decreased, which is such a huge impact on the employee productivity and their ability to focus while they're at work instead of being distracted or stressed out about their finances. And lastly, 1/4 of the employers that we've surveyed have said that this service has improved their recruitment. And as we know, in times like today, when we're almost at, unemployment numbers are so low, recruitment is becoming more and more important for employers. So how does this impact employees, though? This is some of the data that we've collected from the employee side of things. And all of these stats, by the way, over a 2-year period. So in the last 2 years, we've reduced more than $6 million of employee debt. The employees have given our service 4.8 out of 5 stars, which is actually a higher rating than the employers gave us. 87% said they feel more confident about making decisions about their money. 77% said it helped them meet their financial goals, and 88% said they feel like they have someone they can trust to talk about money. On top of that, 56% said that they increased their savings contributions. 42% began using split direct deposit or automatic transfers that hadn't in the past. 65% started using online banking or another online digital tool. And 52% opened a new account based off of recommendations. And in 2018 alone, 64% of clients were able to pay down their debt. So all of this really shows that we have a significant impact with the workers and their financial lives. This just shows a little bit about the ability to launch with different customers, what that looks like. So as we are working with a customer, we share with them this same information. We do have the ability to experience trusted advisor. And I wanted to offer that to everybody who's on the webinar today. So we do have sample financial counseling sessions that we can provide to you all. So you can go through this exact process yourself, schedule a session with a financial counselor and have a session. You can be the person who gets those 7:30 a.m. text messages reminding them to bring their lunch to work, which I actually really need. So I might do that as well. And then once you've decided, or if a company decides, you know, this is a really great service, I want to bring this to my employees, there's just a very standard contract that we signed between both organizations. And from there, we identify who the points of contact are going to be to continue with the relationship, choose the marketing materials, as I had mentioned before, figure out what plan works best to communicate this benefit to employees, and launch the services. So it's a really easy process to get started. And that is it. And I'm 3 minutes early, so we have time for additional questions. I want to see if Justine has anything that she wants to add to.
No, I'll just say that I'm hoping one of the questions that we get is, how do I sign up for that session? Because we always say that the best way that we can explain the power of our work is to say that everybody really needs trusted financial guidance. All of us need that kind of help, and our counselors are available to anybody really at any workplace, and we hope people here take advantage of that. But thank you, Adria. And I think, Mark, I guess we'll go back to you.
Yes, thank you. You guys really hit the mark in terms of timing, and it was a really robust presentation with a lot of information. We have had two of our fellows add, one from the current cohort, Eric Weaver, and one from what we call the inaugural cohort, Betsy Beeman from the great coastal state of Maine. So we wanted to welcome them as well. I'll just lead off with a question and then we'll open it up. And that is, so I didn't see in the presentation about whether you gather information about either worker income or household income, because debt and financial capability related to debt is related to what their fiscal capacity is to handle their expenses plus whatever debt load that they may have. So probably I missed what information you gather about individual or household income. Could you clarify that for me?
Yeah, absolutely. So I didn't want to show all of the screenshots of the information we gather, but we do gather in the onboarding tool. We ask them about their income, how many people live in their household, how frequently they get paid, a number of different questions to provide us with all of that information. So that way we can help get a better sense of where they are with their finances. So it's not just the credit report that our financial counselors use, but a series of questions that we have to get that fuller picture. And if anybody, even if you don't want to schedule a financial counseling session, we'll send a link out to you all, and you can kind of play around on the tool and look at all of the questions that we answer in depth and get a feel for some of the data that we're gathering.
I was just wondering, can you characterize a little bit like the kinds of, people who are coming to you, the kinds of companies you're working with and what kinds of employees they have, and what are some of can you just give a few more examples of the kinds of folks? I guess I'm wondering what income levels they have and what kinds of financial goals they set.
Yeah, absolutely. So it ranges a lot. I will say that with the Trusted Advisor service, most of the employees have established credit, but most of them also have higher levels of debt from the other programs that we work with. I believe the average income is around 40,000.
I think it's lower than that.
It might be lower.
Yeah, I think the average income is around $26,000.
Right. It's 40,000 if we remove the home health aides that we work with, and with the home health aides, it's around 26,000. And so, as far as the companies go, it really does vary. We've found that we've had a lot of success with small to medium-sized businesses, so businesses that have under 1,000 employees. Those businesses do tend to have higher participation rates in our services. And I think that's just because of the nature of their ability to promote new employee benefits to their staff. It's a little bit easier. There's less levels of human resources. And because there's greater participation, there's more impact on the business itself. So what we believe is that by offering these financial counseling services, and as you saw in the data, it is helping businesses with productivity, with retention, with recruitment. And so those small to medium-sized businesses have really felt that impact.
And Maureen, just to follow up with some of the statistics. So 33% of the people we serve have income below 30,000, but the median income is higher, as Adria was right, at 44,000. Although I will add that I think that there's a outlier. We have a pilot with a major commercial bank that sort of pulled our income numbers up a little bit. But also to clarify that 81% of the people we serve have debt, and the median consumer debt amount is $8,500. And half of the people we serve have subprime credit, and 40% have debt in collections.
Can I just ask for a clarification further on the income data that you just shared?
Yeah.
In that case, are you referring to household income, combined income, or individual worker income? Because those would look kind of different.
I believe that number is the individual income. We do also gather household income, and we can get those numbers to you, but that is the individual income amount.
It's all very impressive. So yeah. I'd like to know a little bit more about the definition. So that's great. I'm going to ask one more question, and then we're going to ask people to raise their hand. Is that the best way to do it? We'll unmute. We'll just unmute you if you would like to ask a question. So I'm interested in this co-branding with the employer because I think it's a great thing. But I'm just wondering whether you run into any reluctance by employees to report data because they might be under the impression that their employer will see it. You understand, I could clarify the question, but does that make sense?
It makes complete sense. That is one of the questions that that comes up, actually. So we do make clear throughout the relationship with the employee, and I think it's on the initial page, might not be on the screenshot, that the sessions are confidential. And that has been a concern of people in the past, and in previous iterations of Trusted Advisor, we actually used to send our financial counselor on site in the workplace. And I think it was a bigger concern then because they saw them in the workplace and they thought, oh, well, maybe they work for my company. And it also wasn't a very confidential space. And so this iteration of Trusted Advisor, we haven't seen it as much, but we are very clear in the counseling session if they ever have questions about it, as well as in this onboarding tool, that all of the information they provide us is going to be confidential. And the only thing that we report back to the employers are that high-level monthly report that I showed you that showed the number of people who utilize it. And some employers do request the aggregated financial report. So they want to see on an aggregated level how many people increased their credit score, established credit, paid down their debt, what those results were, what they look like. But we never report any individual financial data to anybody.
Right. Yeah. So do we have any questions from the fellows who are joined to the call today? How would they indicate that?
People can raise your hand in the chat, or feel free to, I've unmuted everyone. So if you want to ask a question, you can speak up, or if you've muted yourself on your end, you can unmute yourself.
Can you hear me? This is Eric.
Perfectly. You sound great.
Oh, good. Do you have any data on like how long people stick with it and what sort of retention information?
Yeah, absolutely. So we decided, we do have information on that. The average number of engagements that we have with all of the people that we work with is about 9 engagements. And when you look at the follow-up sessions themselves, it's significantly lower. So it's about 1.3, 1.4 follow-up sessions per person. And the reason for that and what we found is that most people after their first financial counseling session really love to text their financial counselor, right? They're very, very busy. They might not have time, again, to get back on the phone with the financial counselor for a 30-minute counseling session, but they do have time to text their counselor or maybe log into the platform that we've created and engage with the counselor in their financial profile that way. And so we do have an average of 9 engagements per person. I'd say that the length of time, I believe on average is 3 months, 1 to 3 months, somewhere around there. But what we found is that, you know, some people might come to our counselors experiencing some sort of crisis or financial shock. And so the counselor will help them through that period. And then maybe they go away for a few months. And then all of a sudden something happens. There's, you know, a baby is born or somebody in the household loses their job. There's all these, your financial picture is never a flat line. It's always going up and down and getting better and then getting worse. And so we provide our counseling services to all of the employees for life. Even if they were to leave the employer, as long as they're a client of ours, we will continue to work with them to help them through those challenging times. And I think that's something actually that when I was selling the service, I thought the employers were not going to like that. And to my surprise, it's one of the things that employers like the most about our services, because oftentimes human resources are the ones who have to let people go. And so they like the ability to connect somebody with a financial counseling service during that challenging time.
This is Betsy Beeman, and I apologize because I came in a little late. I had a call earlier that went over time. So you may have, I'm sure you probably answered this question at the beginning, but if you could just give me a very quick answer, or I could follow up by email. I was just curious to know how you fund the trusted advisor services and whether they're wholly paid for by the employer or you have a mix of philanthropic and sort of service fees.
So I'll answer this and say, I'm just going to give a teaser answer because next week we're going to be going into more depth on our revenue model and hope you can join that. But what I will say is that right now, the vast majority of our operating budget is covered by philanthropic dollars, but we're seeing that number quickly change. So we actually have a expectation that we should achieve operational break even in 3 years. And just to break it down, we today earn, and again, I'm not going to go into details because we are going to be doing this next week, but we earn around $225 per person served. And we sort of have evidence that our revenue model really, really works. And so the challenge of sustainability is more about sort of overall growth of the business and then operational efficiency and a reduction in the cost per person. So there's a lot of work going on right now around operational efficiency and sort of the back end infrastructure. And so, by the end of this year, we should have about 25% of our operating budget covered by earned revenue. And again, should get to 100% over the 3 years.
And just a quick follow-up, but thank you.
Yep.
Helpful. What is the average size of the company or employer that contracts with you? And do you have obviously
spot employer?
It would seem like it would be cheaper to work with larger businesses than small businesses. So wondering what your thinking is about that.
Yeah, that's a great question. You want to go?
Sure, I'll start. And then, so that's what we thought. And what I'd say we're really excited about is that we started looking for large employers because we thought they'd be more efficient. But actually, it's the small and medium-sized businesses that we believe are a better target customer and actually enabling us to achieve a more sustainable business model because they are willing to pay. They recognize the value and they're very close to their employees, both sort of physically and emotionally. So we serve more employees per employer at the smaller business, and also the expense of acquiring that business from marketing to sales to onboarding and ongoing engagement is so much more efficient. So, we could go into the math at another time, but the large business, yes, they have many employees, but the sales cycle is so long. And then the engagement and the marketing and trying to get from that, C-suite person who, says they love us all the way down the chain of command to the employee is actually quite expensive.
And when you say small and medium sizes,
Yep.
What's that range approximately?
Yep. So we identify small as any company under 100 employees and medium as any company between 101 and 1,000 employees.
And the median size is definitely in this sort of smaller company range.
Yeah.
So, around 100. Mm-hmm. And I will add, we also have had a really successful pilot program with Axion and see a lot of promise serving the micro business or the micro entrepreneur as well.
Thank you.
There's a question up from Mandy. Mandy, can you come off mute and ask your question?
Hi, sure. So I was just wondering hey, Justine, I was just wondering what your vision was, and I think I might have connected you with our financial coaches, but what in the expansion of your model, because it's great, and this is a really interesting thing that I can imagine marketing to our employer partners. What's your vision of working with others, nonprofits around the country, or where do you want to go with partners?
So I'll start, and then Adria, please. So right now we have, we are selling directly to small and medium-sized businesses, and we're about to launch a sort of major online marketing program to sort of accelerate that effort of sort of a direct sales. But we are also very focused on what we call channel partners. So working with organizations that themselves do business with or serve, large clusters of businesses that have sort of some unifying theme. So we're working with a bunch of different benefits providers. We have a pilot already underway with Cigna, and we will be signing a contract with a major benefits provider in the next 2 weeks, we hope, to do a pilot with their small business network. And we love the idea of partnering with nonprofits who themselves work with networks of businesses. And quite frankly, when there's mission alignment, hey, that's a beautiful thing. And I'll just say, from a values perspective, we have an agenda as a social enterprise to scale and have impact, and believe that the ability to be sustainable is part of how we're going to sort of influence the business community. But our values are really rooted in collaboration. We started as a nonprofit, bringing a credit union to the community and embracing the cooperative model. And we've never, we don't do any work that's direct to consumer. Every service we've ever offered has been in collaboration with another organization that sort of shares our interest in serving, whether it's their workers or their consumers or their clients. So full steam ahead in collaboration. That's our vision nationally, and would love to talk more.
I couldn't say anything better. That was great.
Can I
feel
ask
free
a
to take
specific follow-up to that? So would you envision like a channel partner taking your marketing materials and saying like, hey, here's this other great benefit or service that may help your employees retain or be promoted or X, Y, and Z thing? Is that sort of what your channel partners are doing now?
Yeah, it does vary from channel partner to channel partner. We do have some that are doing that. Actually, I just came from there's a workforce development organization that we've been working with who has feels like there's a huge value add in promoting our services to some of the employers that they work with, and have been connecting us with some of those employers. So sometimes it's, just a referral where they connect us with the businesses that they collaborate with. In other instances, like with Axion or Start Small, Think Big, where they are providing their clients, our small business owners, we have agreements with them to serve their clients, because to us, it's the small businesses that we're trying to get to anyway. So in those instances, we actually have an agreement directly with them and they are promoting the service directly to their clients. So it varies from every organization, and we are, definitely willing to talk with everybody and figure out what the best fit is for both organizations and what the best fit is for either your clients or the businesses that you're serving.
And I'll just add one point. I have a board member who sort of has this like sage sales principle that he tells me every time he sees me, but it's true, which is, it's easy to sell one thing and it's extremely hard to sell two things. So, we're very comfortable with a partnership model whereby, if you have a customer relationship and you want to offer trusted advisor as a feature of your own service or a feature of your product, so you're still selling what you do. And now we sort of come along as part of that, rather than saying, oh, hi employer, you may now want to buy two things instead of one thing, which is really confusing and complicated. We're comfortable with that sort of value proposition where we're a feature of your product that you're selling to your customer, because we think that just sort of greases the skids to get the employer on board, and quite frankly, probably makes it easier for the end user as well to feel like there's sort of this linked experience.
So it's Mark. I just had another question about sort of a level setter here. So there's a lot of jobs in America that produce not enough income for a household, or combining those jobs in a household, that given the cost of living in that area and maybe the debt that you've incurred because of medical expenses or whatever, that it's really not possible to float the boat, right, financially. So is the purpose of the financial counseling service then to negotiate on behalf of individuals for debt relief, or to guide them towards that? So there's the income problem and there's the financial capability problems, and they're not unrelated. I just wondered what your philosophy and service approach was to that.
As a financial counselor. Yeah, I think one of the things that excites me most about the work that we're doing is we're really able to gather a lot of data around the financial situation of these employees. And I think what's interesting and kind of on our roadmap in the long term is to be able to take that information and bring it back to those employers and say, look, your employees who are only making $15 an hour are this much more financially stressed, or have this much more debt in collections as compared to your employees who make $18 an hour, and really show to them that it's not only more productive, but there's a better ROI for them to invest in their employees and provide them with better salaries in the long run because of an increase in productivity and retention. And so that's one of the things that we really hope to do with that data in the long run. And I'm really excited about it. We've actually had some interesting conversations with a private equity firm of all people who has been really focused on figuring out how they can improve retention at some of the companies that they own, because retention problems cost those companies, and they understand that we might be providing them with data that shows, hey, in order to improve retention, you're going to need to invest a little bit more in these employees. And the fact that we're able to bring that kind of data to those conversations, I think is really promising.
Yeah, and then I'll just add, Mark, this is a conversation we have all the time, right? Which is there are structural challenges, and we do not want to be the way in which employers feel like they can let themselves off the hook, right? And that is a challenge. So we're mindful of that, and we try to make sure that that isn't the role that we play. And then we're mindful that there are many individuals who we may serve who are coming to us in crisis where their finances are such that, we have to be real with them, that there's actions that they can take to sort of minimize the pain. And we definitely will work with them on sort of negotiating down their debt and their variety of tools. But, we don't want to sort of, we want to be very transparent about the fact that there are clients for whom our services are helpful on the margins, but there are challenges that hopefully what we're adding is, to Adria's point, is we're sort of surfacing the level of distress. And then the one other thing I'll add from a mission perspective, or perhaps more from a vision perspective, is, first of all, hopefully we can influence employers to invest in their workers more. But the other influence we aim to have is on the financial services marketplace and the different types of products and tools that can be designed to help those workers, and different ways for those workers to feel more comfortable using those kinds of tools. So we do have a project underway to partner with, emerging fintechs who are focusing on challenges around cash flow and, debt and savings, who we think have the potential to be better solutions. So we're, partnering with them so we can help them understand this market better, help people sort of trust these products more, and feel like we can help them navigate through them. And so I would say that's something that hopefully over time helps us influence, so that, there's a more, there's less income inequality and less distress because of the structural issues. But I do want to acknowledge that there's a certain role that hopefully we're not playing.
Yeah, and I would just add really quickly that, I do get a question of, are there any kind of companies you wouldn't want to work with because they don't pay their employees a livable wage? And fortunately, we haven't had to cross that bridge yet, because most of the companies that are interested in bringing this kind of employee support and employee benefit are ones that are high road employers that are really focused on the well-being of their staff and their employees. So it's been very interesting. It's an interesting value proposition that we have. And I feel like it attracts more of the companies that are aligned with helping to support their staff and their employees. And, we'll see.
And hopefully we make inroads on the others and influence them.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thanks. We keep looking to the right because we're actually under a tornado warning, and we're sitting by a window, and they've come in. So if we blow away a la Allison, or from Kansas to over the rainbow, come and see us. But let's go to the lightning round now. So we're down to the last 5 minutes of the scheduled seminar. And if we could get questions from any of maybe we'd take a couple questions if they're available from the Job Quality Fellows, and let's try to compress the answers so that we can cover a couple of questions in the remaining time, if that's all right with you guys. This has really been fascinating. So any questions from the fellows? I'll ask another one while they're thinking of it. So this issue of the insight that you get from the data about job quality, pay, and its relationship to financial stress. Obviously you're using it for analysis with companies. Have you thought about allowing access to blinded information to academic research or advocate researchers to be able to convert with you into effective advocacy pieces, the really kind of unique data, but also very powerful data that you have? And I'll go on mute.
Yes. I guess what I'd say is yes. I feel like, we aim to both have more data, better data, and then the data mining and analytics tools that can sort of surface those insights and definitely make it available to the academic and advocate community. And so I'd say on all those fronts, the intention's there. And then I think we candidly have work to do to make those connections better, or make our data better, both better quality and more accessible. But absolutely, we have a project underway with WashU that is starting to show some interesting insights. And then I'd say the most interesting thing is that we have a veteran member of our team who is now dedicating his time to starting an advocacy effort here, which is exactly what you described, where our role is to sort of surface data, stories, insights, and make those available as tools for other advocacy organizations. So if you have any ideas on that, we're like a few months into that effort. And you know, what I would add is it's not just the data, it's our team of financial counselors themselves are like fonts of knowledge, and not just like the personal finance content, but they have this incredible intuition about, you know, what motivates people to, you know, take action in certain ways, what stresses them out, how they react to different types of products or messaging. I mean, there's so much rich insight just from their daily work. And we think there's a way to be more like to create more connective tissue between our work and policy and advocacy. So, but I think we need help on that front.
Yeah, let's talk further. I have some ideas there of connections, and I'd like to hear more about what you're doing. So this is Mark Popovich. I'm going to wrap up for the session. I want to thank our friends at Neighborhood Trust Financial Partners. You guys have provided us with a great deal of background information, which will really be a nice lead-in to next week's seminar. Don't miss it. It's going to be bigger than the Game of Thrones finale. It will certainly be better than the Game of Thrones finale, according to the fans, where we'll be talking about fee-for-service and revenue models. Week from today, don't miss it. Just a couple reminders. Dan, to my right, your left, has asked about getting an update from all of you who are in the second cohort about your op-ed drafts. So please update Dan in response to his email if you haven't already. And then we will be looking after the next webinar about topics of whether we want to do more webinars of this share and learn version. The other possibility might be to focus a little bit more on the 3 collaborative groups or 4 collaborative groups, depending on how you counted, that emerged from the last collaborative in March of the second cohort group that we were talking to. So I'll throw it to Maureen to give thanks. Thanks to our friends at Neighborhood Financial Trust, and especially to Justine and Andrea for their work in preparing for today. And we look forward to seeing you all, not quite at the same time, but the same day next week. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.